This week we have an exclusive chat with Gearbox Software's co-founder Brian Martel about the studio's newest project, Homeworld HD. We find out what it means to be a creature combat designer for the Elder Scrolls Online, and Jimmy the Geek catches up with the Protomen to discuss music, Mega Man, and their upcoming album. This is Player Attack. But first, the latest gaming news, and Linux is currently the buzzword on everybody's lips. Valve Software, the company behind digital distribution platform Steam, is making inroads into your living room. Part of that process involves its own Linux-based, game-focused operating system, Steam OS. We're promised an open-ended operating system that will play your entire Steam library, whether the games are designed for Windows, Mac or Linux, and you will also be able to access family sharing, music and media. More details on Valve's living room plans are expected shortly, and we are promised that Steam OS will launch soon. The other major buzz this week is, of course, Grand Theft Auto 5, which launched earlier this month to a ridiculous level of fanfare. How ridiculous? The game sold $1 billion worth in the first 3 days, smashing all sorts of records. In the UK, its launch week sales are greater than the launch weeks of all other GTA titles combined. But the game's not perfect. While gamers across the globe are waxing lyrical about the adventures of Franklin, Michael and Trevor, others are struggling through a few nasty bugs. The first issue to arrive seemed counterintuitive. Rockstar told gamers not to install the second disc of the twin set on Xbox 360. Because of the console's architecture, installing disc 2 actually makes the game run slower than if it's just left in the drive. That was a trivial issue though, particularly compared to another major one that popped up soon after. Cars and car upgrades mysteriously started vanishing if they were parked inside a garage. While Rockstar worked hard to find a solution or a way to recover the missing vehicle, the studio issued a second confusing instruction: don't park your wheels undercover.
I know he'll come for me.
No wonder they were all so afeared.
Now go! Go! And don't look back!
God in heaven! What are those? I'll go mad if I stay here another second.
Come at me, freaks! I'll revenge you tail to toe!
That is our first real look at Deep Down, a mysterious PlayStation 4 exclusive on the way from Capcom. We don't know much about it yet. There is up to 4-person multiplayer, procedurally generated adventures, and a futuristic New York City setting full of dragons and knights. But the studio has dropped a bombshell this week, revealing that the game will also be free to play. Warhammer Online Age of Reckoning has just celebrated its 5th anniversary, and publisher Mythic has handed over a bittersweet gift, announcing that the MMO will be closing its doors before the end of 2013. The reason is simple. The studio's licensing deal with Games Workshop will expire on December 18th, and it will not be renewed. On a happier note, the first expansion pack for SimCity has been announced. Cities of Tomorrow throws your city 50 years into the future. Build your metropolis just the way you want, with maglevs, fusion reactors or tidal wave generators, or you can sink all your money into mega towers that build cities vertically rather than taking up valuable land space. SimCity Cities of Tomorrow is headed to Mac and PC on November 14th. In movie news, we're hearing stories that Dante's Inferno, the game, not the epic poem, is being made into a film. Universal picked up the rights from EA 7 years ago, but is only now moving on the project, with Evil Dead remake director Fede Alvarez reportedly in talks with the studio. Universal is also potentially linked to another major gaming project, the film adaptation of Warcraft. This one's back in the headlines again as we hear that Colin Farrell and Paula Patton are 2 names being thrown around for starring roles. After years of delays, Warcraft is scheduled to enter production in January 2014. And finally this week, the man credited with turning Nintendo from a humble playing card company into the super gaming giant it is today has died. Hiroshi Yamauchi was the third president of the company, in charge from 1949 until May 2002, when he handed over the reins to current president Satoru Iwata. The great-grandson of company founder Fusajiro Yamauchi quickly set about making the company his own, thanks to early partnerships with visionaries like Gunpei Yokoi and Mario creator Shigeru Miyamoto. Yamauchi is the man responsible for Nintendo's expansion into America. After more than 50 years in the top job, Yamauchi stepped down in 2002. He remained at the company as an advisor but had been quiet for the past few years. He died from pneumonia on September 19th, aged 85. To keep up to date with the latest gaming news, head to playerattack.com. But for now, stick around, we've got plenty more still to come. Hi, I'm Jessica Citizen from Player Attack. I'm here with Brian Martel from Gearbox Software. We are at PAX Australia, and Brian and the rest of the Gearbox panel have just made an amazing announcement. Can you please tell us what you have just announced here at PAX Australia?
Yeah, we are making Homeworld HD.
"100 years ago, a satellite detected an object under the sands of the Great Desert. An expedition was sent. An ancient starship buried in the sand.
Homeworld is just this amazing 3D RTS space, combat game. And so it was really revolutionary at the time to do an RTS that was fully 3D, be able to move the camera anywhere, and not only that, but the ships are just absolutely stunning. And so for that, I mean, they kind of like were influential in all of us who were in the industry at the time to see some of the best ship designs that we've ever seen. I mean, it's still hard to beat,
This wasn't your property originally. It belonged to Relic a while ago, and then Relic was owned by THQ. Can you recap briefly the long, drawn-out saga that saw the property transform and become a Gearbox property?
Yeah, so basically what happened was, Sierra owned had created Homeworld way back when, and then THQ basically bought Relic, and so Relic owned the property, and so they acquired it. And then, of course, sadly THQ went away, and then basically this went up on the auction block. So for us, we were talking one day and I thought, look, we really ought to get this. We need to make sure that the world sees this. I saw an opportunity where it hasn't been on Steam or any other digital distribution methods, and we thought, look, this would be cool to really get this out there to the world. We want to make sure that people are able to play it and see it and love it like we do. And so that's what we kind of talked about. We went through the whole bidding process and putting money in escrow and all this crazy boring stuff, but basically at the end of the day, we were so excited, to finally win the bid and acquire the whole franchise. So it's amazing.
So this does mean that you own the older games as well, and you briefly touched on the fact. I know that when you guys picked it up, there are a whole lot of people that were crossing their fingers just that the game was going to come out on Steam. Can you put their minds at rest?
Yes, it will be coming out on Steam. So one of the things that we want to do is be able to bring it up to sort of like modern day standards. I mean, because these games are really a bit old, and they're still kind of held together with duct tape and, bubble gum and that kind of thing. So what we wanted to do is be able to make them sort of, special and more awesome and make the ships look just stunning, right? So that's kind of one of the things that we're doing. Yeah.
Will you be bringing the originals to Steam as well, or are they so old and so it's not worth looking at?
No, I think it really is something that we can do, is be able to at least get the classic true versions out there. But in addition to that, do the kinds of things that both we and what some of the guys at Relic want to do. After announcing this, a lot of people have reached out to us. People that, like Alex Garden, who used to run Relic, who's now over at Microsoft, he reached out to us and said, hey, can you guys make sure that you are, doing something cool? We're really happy that you guys have it. But we were asking a lot of questions of the different Relic guys. What would you like to see that you haven't seen before? So that it's true to what those guys really wanted to do,
So is it true that you guys are in fact doing what so many of us want so many developers to do, which is taking an original game, not actually changing it dramatically and just bringing it up into a higher resolution, making it shiny, making it next gen and really pretty to look at?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because one of the things is like Homeworld 1, is really kind of a GL sort of PC game. and it didn't have a lot of the bells and whistles that later even Homeworld 2 had. I mean, Homeworld 2, once we started digging into the code, we're actually surprised at how advanced these guys were thinking at the time. Self-shadowing, cool like next-gen sort of shader technology, and all that stuff that we're all really used to and think of as just as standard. Those weren't there in the old games, and so now we're able to bring that up and make sure that the ships are higher fidelity, things that they couldn't run because the machines weren't as powerful, right? So to look at like a Homeworld 1 ship, even to a Homeworld 2 ship, which is a 4-year difference, was massive, right? Then in addition to that, now we've got this number of years past, we're almost 10 years from Homeworld 2, so we want to make those kind of changes. I mean, we're still digging deep into the code base and trying to make sure that we can build it. I mean, we're playing it at Gearbox now, and it's exactly like it was. We're looking into the models and trying to figure out whether we can, do everything exactly like it was or what we need to do. I mean, it's just one of those kind of things where you kind of see how they were developing, and some of the development sort of methodologies have changed a bit, and some of the tools are still a little bit antiquated and whatever, but we're going through all those efforts and trying to make it better, in that way. And so, yeah, I mean, we're going to see if we can get it on obviously PC first. We'd love to see some sort of iOS version of this or tablet version of some sort. We think that would be amazing. Of course, we'd love to get it onto the next-gen consoles, but, is this one of those things, we have to do the investigation. Is this something where you're going to be using, glass, that kind of thing, and using tablets to kind of control it, or using a controller? And so those kind of things don't feel exactly right for a game like this. Also, the pace of it is pretty fast. So if you're using sticks and stuff, so we don't want to kind of compromise the gameplay or the quality of the product by just throwing it on platforms to just sort of monetize it. We want to make sure that it's true to what it was originally, both the storylines, the way the gameplay is. We don't want to change any of that stuff. We want it to be as true to that as possible, but while being just enhanced a bit.
And, well, maybe potentially at some point, if this game was built for a certain sort of gameplay style, perhaps future games in the Homeworld universe might be built for a different sort of gameplay style. Yeah,
that would be awesome. We've brainstormed on all kinds of other games that would be amazing in the universe, because it's such a cool world that they've created. Space. But anyway, it's really a wonderful, sort of the whole history and talking more to the ex-Relic guys and all that about what happened and what did they want to see happen. These kind of things are the nuggets that we want to take to it and make sure that it's right for the fans.
We're not going to talk about the game as a whole just yet. We're going to talk about your specific job at the studio. You are a creature combat designer. What does that mean?
So I do all of the enemy AI and combat behaviors in the game. So not only creatures, but the humanoids that you'll be fighting as well. We are really focused on making sure that the creatures that you'll be fighting kind of carry over the same combat mechanics that you'll carry onto in Cyrodiil, which is our PvP area. So we don't want to totally flip the game over on you. Once you get into PvP, we want you to be familiar with the mechanics that you'll be going against. So for example, one of the things that players can do is they have synergies, which is abilities that work together. So if one player puts down an area of lightning, another player can go into it and act as a conduit of lightning, shocking everybody around them. Well, monsters can play off those type of synergies as well. So monsters will be able to put down an area of oil, which by itself will slow you and is quite annoying to deal with. But another monster that's able to deal in destruction magic can light it on fire, making it an inferno of death, which you don't want to be standing in. We have creatures like the Dwemer, which can go aside and make kind of static fields that the other ones will go into and power up. We have land-based Lamia, which will sing and harmonize with each other and be able to cast different abilities based on their harmony with each other. So we have lots of monsters that work together. We also have a lot of monsters that are solo fights and kind of tough on their own. So one of the monsters that you might be able to see in our gameplay trailer this week is the Daedric Titan, which is also concepted on ElderScrollsOnline.com. But it's a huge winged beast, and it's the gatekeeper for Molag Bal, keeping all of the souls trapped in Cold Harbor. So if you ever pass into Cold Harbor, you're trying to destroy a Dark Anchor or anything like that, there's a Daedric Titan waiting for you. We also have another Daedra that is being introduced in the gameplay trailer this week, which is called a Harvester. It's a multi-armed Daedra, kind of snake-like body, and her job is to harvest all the souls for Moloch Ball. So we have one Daedra that harvests and steals all the souls, and another one which is the Gatekeeper. And those are both kind of solo heavy fights on their own. So they don't really work with other people because they're pretty heavy on their own. While we have a lot of new monsters, we also have a lot of monsters that you'll be familiar with from previous Elder Scrolls games. Since we have a lot of Daedra influence, there's a ton of Daedra that you might be familiar with, like Ogrim, Spider Daedra, Clan Fear, new Daedra as well. But it's really interesting to go back and look at those games and kind of remember what the emotion that monster made you have when you first saw it, when you started defeating it. What kind of mechanics does it have? How do I bring that to a new environment? So that's really exciting, being able to work with older monsters as well.
What sort of challenges do you face when you're dealing with a non-humanoid enemy?
I think some of the challenges is making it feel real. Like, for example, wolves are a really good example. We don't want just the wolf to kind of stand in front of you and bite at you. Like, wolves in nature surround you, they hunt in packs, they work together. So trying to make that happen in the game environment is really challenging, and to the point it's like, how far do you go to the point where it's confusing for the player and frustrating to the point of fun versus, interesting. So we have wolves will surround you, they'll call other pack members and to hunt you and things like that. So that's really interesting as well.
And the more fantastic they get, is there any more challenge involved when there are more limbs or tentacles or tails?
Not for me, because it gives me more options. But it is a little bit of a challenge for our animators. The difference between a monster on all fours versus a monster with 4 arms that are waving around at all times, making that visually appealing as well as gameplay appealing. So there are some art challenges for me. I love monsters with more hands because it's more things to attack you with.
SteelSeries has been around for just over a decade now, and the Danish manufacturer has made quite a name for itself in the realm of competitive gaming peripherals. You can find SteelSeries logos on pro gamers around the world, from Team Immunity to Navi and Fnatic, and if you're lucky, you might find 1 or 2 on your desk as well. SteelSeries has sorted out a pretty sweet little prize pack to give away to one lucky Player Attack viewer. We've got the freshly launched Siberia V2 Heat Orange headset, a Sensei optical mouse, and a quick gaming service. They are all super sleek. The headset has its own USB sound card, the mouse takes personalization to an all new level, and a dedicated gaming surface has got to be better than dragging your mouse around on that desk. Want one? All you have to do to win your very own SteelSeries prize pack is head to playerattack.com. Follow the links to the SteelSeries competition, fill out your name and contact details, and enter this week's key feature, which is on your screen right now. The competition is open to anyone in Australia and will run all the way up until October 9th, with the winner announced on Player Attack shortly after. For the full terms and conditions, see our website.
Jimmy the Geek here with 1/3 of the Protomen. How's it going, guys?
Doing good.
Very well then.
You guys are down here for the first time overseas. What do you think of Australia so far?
Pretty awesome.
It's nice. You got really nice winters. Other than yesterday, it was kind of gloomy, but
And wet and cold.
But other than that, it's been really nice.
So you're coming back then, hopefully?
Yes.
Yes. It's up to you. Actually,
people
if you want us to
just
come,
up to Sydney.
Yeah.
If the Sydney shows don't go well, we're not coming back ever.
Ever coming back.
we'll just go to Melbourne then.
So if we don't come back, you can all blame Sydney.
We'll start some sort of a civil war.
Yeah.
Yes. Can we do that?
To explain the Protomen to people who've never seen you, never heard of you.
Yesterday, somebody in one of the panels said, was it the panel?
Yeah.
He said that we are, what was it?
Queen
with robots. And that doesn't offend me.
It's not too bad.
No, that's about right.
Yeah, we always tell people, they ask what genre, and I just say rock opera.
Yeah.
And either they get it, or they just goes right over their head, and you have to explain rock opera, and they still don't get it.
Yeah, it's like explaining a joke to somebody. Like once you have to explain the joke.
Well, you tell the joke, and then you have to explain it, and it's
not
funny.
a joke anymore. It's just like, ouch. This is awkward.
So basically, we're a joke until we're not funny.
That doesn't make... No.
Okay.
None of that. Hopefully we're not
It
at.
starts out not funny.
But it gets funny
and
once
then
you
it gets
get it.
really
It's
funny.
It does get funnier.
And then it eventually gets not funny again, but,
But then it
it'll
gets
come
funnier.
back around.
It's a roller coaster of funny.
Where did the idea for a rock opera band that Queen with robots, where did that come from?
Want a real answer or a ridiculous answer?
Let's get both.
All right. I'm just going with real because it's more complicated to come up with a fake one. We actually met in school, recording school, and did that action for a while, and had to do recording projects, and kind of snowballed into, hey, let's make the most ridiculous projects you possibly can, because recording terrible country artists in Nashville, Tennessee is very boring, and everybody's doing it, and what's the point of that? So we were just like, let's just make the most ridiculous stuff we can think of.
We got in a room and hammered out the first song.
Yeah, that's about it.
And that really.
And
just
then it
did
was
all.
like, well, this thing can be a story, and this thing can be a pretty awesome story, so let's just push it. And so here we are, 75 years later.
10 years later.
Old men playing songs
Robots.
about a video game.
The third act, Act 3 in the Protomen saga is coming out soon. Can you give us some details?
Coming out next week?
I'll tell you what.
Not at all.
It can be coming out soon. If you wait to air this, like, I don't know,
7
year and a half from now, yes, it's coming out tomorrow.
Yeah, it really just depends on when you
Depends
air
on when
this.
you air this.
You could hold it back and we could give you a phone call.
And just like,
say,
release-
air it now. Air it now.
You can have, like, we could give you the scoop.
You could be the one that releases the date.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be pretty awesome.
Okay. What year is this? This is
2013.
okay.
In Australia, it might be different.
Oh yeah. They have
Okay.
different years here.
Since we've wrapped. Okay, June 22nd, and you can release it whatever year you want to.
It's true.
How about that?
You
Or,
can just put this
you know-
out June 22nd in 2028, and there it is.
We actually thought you would ask this question, so we were thinking of an answer for it. And I thought we should answer with July 16th, 2013.
The day the
The
Protomen
day
never saw.
we never saw.
that day.
We never saw that day.
Oh, because you flew over the international date line and
Caught our planes at like 11 at
Langoliers,
night.
that shit.
Yep.
And by the time we flew an hour, out of LA, because LA is just what, about 5 or 6 hours to the break of the day? I don't know. It's something like
You have
that.
to get past Hawaii.
And Hawaii is like 2 hours out of that. Anyways, by the time we'd reached, just at that time, was when the time moved forward a day for us. So we missed that date entirely. So
was
that's
pretty
the day
awesome.
Act 3 was able for everybody to hear, but we were stuck on a plane and we couldn't let you guys listen to it.
Sorry.
Sorry. So we're gonna wait like a year or something to put
Blame Australia.
it. It is Australia's fault for being ahead of time.
And that's about it for this edition of Player Attack. Thanks for watching. Next week, we've got a great show lined up with a look at the brand new Command & Conquer in the works at EA, Beyond Two Souls from Quantic Dream, and some insight into what the team at Wargaming gets up to when they're not working on World of Tanks. In the meantime, you can catch us on playerattack.com. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And if you've got something you want to say, send us an email, mailbox@playerattack.com, or just hop on our forums. Till next week, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this is Player Attack.